I can feel it in my waters, Raoul.
What are you talking? Is this the start of the podcast?
This is the start of the podcast.
Oh my
I'm
God.
telling you, I can feel it in my waters.
Strap yourself in for Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul.
Do you know what that means? I can feel it in my waters. Have you heard that term before?
Yeah, I have heard that term.
It's quite an Aussie term, apparently.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
it's a very old term.
I did some research because I often use it. I think it's funny. Oh, I can feel it in my waters. And it's about intuition, right?
Right.
And I thought you might find fascinating. Women exhibit more intuition, empathy, collaboration, self-control and appropriate concern because of increased blood flow in the brain. The female brain is wired for leadership, says Dr. Daniel Arman. I followed this guy. He is amazing. Maddie got me onto him. Founder of the Arman Clinics. So there you are.
Wow.
So we have intuition. If we can feel it in our water, it's a good sign. Right. We're feeling it, baby.
That's what it means. Can feel it in waters. Okay, so that was a random start to the podcast. Normally we go with, hey, keepers, welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. I'm Gabrielle Dolan, and next to me is the rambling Jack Phillips. But the reason I think it probably wasn't rambling, or as Donald Trump says, it's the weave. We're talking about the water you carry.
Not the wine you carry.
Not the wine you carry.
The water you carry.
We'll talk about our lovely sponsors, Wild Duck Creek Estate, but the water you carry.
The wine you carry.
The wine you carry.
What does that mean, the water you carry?
Yeah, okay. Glad you asked.
I know I'm normally only a size 6, but because I'm carrying so much water, I'm a size 18. However, what are you referring to?
So I came across this concept when I was at Harvard doing an adaptive leadership program. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that I've been to Harvard before.
Oh, maybe 4 times or 8 times or 15 times, Keehlan.
Or 27,000 times.
But this was the time you didn't go with me.
No, I didn't go with you.
So it wasn't as good.
I wasn't as good. It wasn't as much fun. But it was an adaptive leadership program.
Cool.
And one
topic.
of the things, the activities they took us through was this concept of the water you carry. And I love this, and I have taught this so many times to my clients to the point where people have sort of said it's been life-changing for them.
Wow.
Hence
Go
why I thought
on.
we could do it as a podcast
Love it.
episode. So
Love
this is a bit of a different podcast episode because I'm sort of almost going to be taking you through it.
Yes, I want to
taking
learn
you
this
through
concept.
the process. And I would suggest that you probably should do this every year.
Wow.
Do this.
Okay. The water you carry.
Towards the end of the year is a good time to do it. So
And we're coming to the
we're
end of the
coming
year.
Towards flying into the end of the year. So this is what you do. So if you've ever, it's a metaphor. If you've ever seen, been to Africa or seen some of those African documentaries, and you see women carrying water and
Yes,
they carry
on
it on
their
their head.
heads.
Yeah, so
It's
they carry it on their head.
amazing,
And these big
amazing.
containers. It is amazing. And sometimes
Their
they carry, like
balance
literally
is
without holding
incredible.
it, just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Incredible.
It's a metaphor for that. So we are literally all walking around carrying water on our head, but the water is our energy, where we put our time, where we put our energy. And if you're not aware of the water you're carrying, then you're going to spill it. And you will most likely spill it in the areas you do not want to spill it in.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. So this is what you got to do, keepers, if you're following along at home. Get a bit of paper and draw a big circle on this bit of paper. Okay. So that's like the bird's eye view of the water you're carrying.
Okay.
Right?
Nice.
Stick with me.
I'll just have a sip of Wild Duck Creek Estate while you talk
Carry
about
on.
water.
This would be good to do over a wine. I know a lot of our keepers
driving me to
listen to
drink.
our podcast as they're walking. So
Don't walk with wine.
Yeah, don't walk with wine. Well, whatever. We won't judge. Anyway, you can just mentally go through this process. So you've drawn a big circle.
And
then
we're looking down on this
you're looking
water,
down on
which
this
is the
circle, right?
Yeah.
And then almost think of it like a little bit of pepperoni pizza. You're going to draw little circles inside the big circle. And each of those little circles signifies a role you play. So I always say start personal. So, for example, when I do this, I would go, okay, I play the role of mother. And then you go, well, who am I responsible for in that role? So I'm responsible for Alex and Jess in that role.
Sure.
I play the role of wife, and the water I carry is Steve. I play the role of a daughter. Yeah. I play the role of a sister. You're
writing, you're listing out all the people you're responsible for in this role, or that are part of your life in this role.
Yeah. So as the role of daughter, it's now mum.
Your mum.
Okay,
correct.
And you go through and you think of every role you play. So it could be you
there'd be a
could
lot.
be coach your kids basketball.
Yeah.
You could be in a book club. Yeah. You play the role of a friend.
Yeah.
You could be on the kids' parents and, teachers and parents association or whatever.
Can I just ask you, and I'm being literal, but I think this is important because this is a great concept and a great exercise. We are friends to lots and lots and lots of people. So if you're playing the role of friend, is it the role of friend to people that you see quite regularly or that you have a lot to do with?
I think it would be your core friends.
Yeah,
your core
otherwise,
friends.
I mean,
that could be on
would
forever.
look like
But I
pimples
guess,
with
I
all the
guess at
dots
this
I'd
stage,
have.
maybe just write friend, and
Okay.
maybe you don't need to list all your friends.
Friends, right.
And then you go. So once you've exhausted all the work or the personal ones, then move to work. Right.
Okay.
So you could be responsible for a team. You could be a team leader.
Yep.
So you're responsible for your team. If you work in a team, you're a team member. You're responsible for your team. You could work with, you could be working on a project. So I'm on project 1.
Yeah.
You could be at work. You could be on the, the diversity and inclusion subcommittee or
So
whatever.
it's where you've got responsibilities.
Where you've
at
got
work
responsibility.
and other people are relying on you in some way,
you could
shape, or
have
form.
a client-facing role. So you're client. You could mentor a few people, so you're a mentor. You could sponsor a few people, so you're a sponsor.
Got it.
And you keep going until you've exhausted all your work ones. And then when you feel like you've exhausted everything, then you put the final one. You put me.
Yourself.
As in you, as in not me, Gabrielle Dolan. Don't write me, although
Good if you wanted to.
you could.
We're all carrying you, love.
One of
Aren't we, Keehlan?
one of the roles you could be is a podcast listener. And okay, so but for example, if we were doing it one of our respective roles would
and
be
responsibility to each other
podcast
is the
host, and we've got
podcast, yeah.
responsibility
Correct.
for each other. So that's
And
the
Keehlan.
concept.
Yeah.
So first of all, you're just mapping it all out. Then where the real value comes is you go along and saying, am I carrying too much water or potentially not enough water?
What if it's just the right amount?
If it's just the right, then that's good because it could be the little Goldilocks situation going on there. So, for example, we'll start at the top, right? You're carrying water for your kids. Now, when your kids are really young, you're carrying a lot of water for them, right?
yeah.
You're carrying a lot of water for them. But as they get older, you
Carry
you've
a little
still
less.
got some responsibility,
Of course
but
you
you
do.
carry less water for them.
They're way more independent and they're
Yeah.
carving their own lives. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll get to it later. Is like it's Keelan's coughing. He needs a
Choking.
water.
Does he need water?
I choked on water.
The water he's carrying.
He's carrying too
Do you
much
want a wine,
water.
Keehlan?
Keelan's carrying too much water in his mouth and he choked on it.
He's all right. He's still breathing. Keep
So,
going.
as you go through this, it could be if I'm carrying too much water, is it appropriate?
Yeah.
And you go, yeah. So, for example, you might be looking after a parent,
Yeah.
like an aging
Caring.
parent, and you're going, oh, at the moment,
There's a lot
I'm
on.
carrying a lot of water for them, but that's the way it is.
That's how it is.
So you go through and you do that. You might, when it gets to a work situation, you might say if you're a team leader, you might be going, if you're a team leader, I would list out your team members.
Yeah.
And because you might be carrying a lot of water for a particular team member.
Oh, so there might be somebody who's particularly needy or somebody
yeah.
who's not as competent as they could be. And so
Yes.
you're carrying
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Now, and it could be maybe they've just started.
Sure.
And so, okay,
So
it's a
there is that
short-term thing.
expectation anyway.
Or it could be, no, they're
Not pulling their
needy
weight.
or they're
Yeah.
just not responding and you're carrying too much water. You might, it's the same if you get to a client, you might have a client that you go, they are so demanding and you're carrying too much water for them. So that is the process of you decide if you're carrying enough water. Then once you know if you're carrying too much water for someone, you've got to then go through the process of how do I give it back? So then the real key is how do you not take it on in the first place?
Yeah.
And how do you give it back?
And so when you say how do you give it back to who?
Well, see, one of the things is so I'll give you a couple of examples here. And when we say it's like dropping the water, it's not completely dropping your responsibility, So you might have a team member that you, like even a colleague that you feel like you're doing a lot of their work for them.
Right.
So it's how you push back on that.
Okay.
How you push back on that. I think I've shared this story before. I had a client of mine who mentored, she had too many people she was mentoring, and her mother was quite sick, and so she needed to find time to dedicate to her mother was dying, and she wanted to spend a lot more time.
So limited time left.
Limited time.
Here she is mentoring 500 other people.
Yes, exactly.
Some of whom weren't valuing it.
So we went through them, and she said, some of these I've been mentoring like for 5 years or whatever, and it's like it's time to just say
cut the
ties, and hand them over to another mentor. So it's stopping that, or literally going back and saying, I don't have any capacity over the next 12 months because my priority is my mum. So just giving it back. I also worked with her on a script to say, when people approached her, to come up with a script to say, I don't have the capacity at the moment. Let me know what you're looking for in a mentor, and I will recommend someone else. And, when I shared this last time, next time I saw her, 11 people had come to her to mentor, and she'd given this script, and only one of them had bothered coming back.
Yeah.
So it was a great example of you are taking on a lot of water for other people that aren't even appreciating it.
They're not valuing
in the first place. So it's looking for ways to give it back.
Makes sense.
And sometimes you could just stop doing it.
Sure.
So even sometimes on a personal thing, you're like, just stop doing this.
Yeah.
And half the time people won't even notice.
No, it's funny you say that. When I've been coaching certain executives who are so overwhelmed with their life, and they're so overwhelmed with their life and their job that they're forgetting about their career. I think I've mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
And I can see this client right now. I was talking to her and she said, well, I'm trying to do this. I'm doing these studies. I'm mother of 2 small children. My husband has his own business. I've got a big career. I'm also caring for an elderly parent. And there was something else. And I said, that is so much that you are taking on. The water you are carrying in this instance is huge. Let's just be totally realistic. What can go? Yeah. And she said, I could defer my studies. I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I could also reduce what I'm taking on at work. So she just made 2 small changes.
Yep.
And she said, I got a text after she had done both of those things a week later saying, my life has changed.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I carried so much for so long.
Yeah.
So you're touching on something really important here,
and
Raoul.
the key is to not take it on.
And I think women,
and I was about to say,
do this
women
more than
do this more.
men.
They take it on.
Yeah.
So a couple of
Save everyone
examples
else.
I'll give you. I remember when when the kids were young, and Steve and I were both working in our corporate jobs, and I used to make the kids lunches, and so I don't know, it just happened. I made the kids lunches. And then I remember I was going to Malaysia for work for about a week. So then Steve had to make the kids' lunches. And I sort of decided in my head that I'm just not going to take that back on.
No.
And I didn't take it back on. And then Steve kept making the kids' lunches until, the kids were old enough to make their own lunches. But I look back and that was like 10 years I saved of not making lunches.
Yeah.
So it's not –
could have been 15.
It could have been 15. So it's things like that. And I remember I did this with a group of women, and a woman rang me, sent me an email like the next day. She had teenage kids, like one of her son was, I think, about 15.
Yeah.
And she said her son came up and said, hey, Mum, we've got this fancy dress party that I've got to go to, and, I need to find an outfit. And she said she immediately pulled out her laptop and was going to start searching for things. And then she said, I remembered what you said. Don't just take on the water.
Don't own it.
And so she stopped, and I said to him, what do you need from me to help you do that? And that is a really good question to ask. So what do you need from me for you to do that?
And his response would be so telling.
His response was, I just need you to tell me how much money I can spend.
Yeah.
All he wanted was a budget.
Yeah, but she was going to take it
all
on.
Whatever, okay, you can spend $50 or whatever it was. And she closed her laptop and she went, I probably just saved myself 3 hours and enjoyed my Friday night. But she was too, this is again what women do, too eager to take it on.
Yeah. And expecting that she needed to take it on when in actual fact she didn't. She just needed to tell him how much.
She didn't need to take it on. So one of the ways of not to take it on is
ask the question,
what do you need from me to help you do it? So it's not saying
question.
it's still supporting them, But it's not
And it's not
doing
assuming that you need to take it all on.
No.
When that actually isn't the expectation from somebody.
Yeah.
And if it is the expectation, I need you to organise it, you could then push back and say, no,
Yeah.
you can organise it.
No.
But I'm here to support.
Yeah.
I can give you the money.
One of the other things, and we are generalising a lot here, but women tend to, when they stop doing something, they tend to then take it back on again because it's
Or
not
fill it with
done,
something else for
not
somebody
done
else.
in the way they would do
Oh,
it.
yes.
I've often
Yes.
I've often shared this story when Steve did finish corporate life,
Yeah.
he started to take on a few more things around the house, and one of them was doing the washing and hanging the washing out. And I was like, oh my God, I would look out at the washing and think, how do you expect clothes to dry like that way? But I thought, you know what, they will dry eventually.
Choose your battles or choose your hard or
So I did
watch
choose
the
my
water you
battles. I
carry.
let it go. But what I did do was go out and hang my shirts properly. Because he used to hang the shirts where, like in the middle where my breasts were.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's just like you've got peg marks that look like nipple marks.
Right, where somebody's looking. That is interesting, and this idea that the way you do it is the right way, when in actual fact there's many ways to do something.
Yeah.
And so choose what you actually take on. and
because
choose what you pick
someone
back
might
up.
go, your partner might start doing the vacuuming, and then if you vacuum it later because they haven't done it properly, well, guess what? They're
Yeah.
not going to do it.
No, that's silly.
So it's figuring out,
what you can let go.
what you can let go,
Yeah.
because, and this is getting back to the start. Where you'll drop things.
Yeah.
The first thing will drop. Remember, I said do that me
Yes.
bucket. The first thing
Family.
will drop is me.
Yeah.
So
Or
as
yourself.
in, I haven't,
Yes.
I haven't had time to exercise, or
Yeah.
I used to go to the gym 3 times a week, and now
or
I
catch
haven't
up with
been
friends,
able to do that.
or read my book, or write my
Yeah.
book, or do whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
You will be the first to
You're
drop
the first to
yourself.
go.
Yeah.
There's a great. I remember I was reading Michelle Obama's book.
Yes.
her memoir "Belonging." Was it Belong or something?
or Beyond or something.
And she talked about how when I think when he either was running for president or became president, they used to go. Both of them used to go to the gym on a regular basis. So they both went to the gym 3 times
Yeah.
a week or whatever. And of course, your life's changed dramatically when
If you're a president,
if you're
yes.
president or running for president. And she's in the book she goes, I just didn't have time to go to the gym. So she stopped going to the gym. And then she became really resentful
yes.
that he was going to the gym.
And she wasn't.
And she wasn't.
And yet he was running for presidency. She
and
wasn't.
so, she in the thing she talked about it one day, she just snapped at him and
Yeah.
said, I don't even have time to go to the gym and you're going to the gym. And he went, well, why haven't you got time to go to the
Yeah.
gym? So he had prioritised
Yes,
it.
of course he had.
And then she realised she just hadn't prioritised
No.
it. So I think the solution was that I think she got her mum to come and stay
Yeah.
2 days a week with
So
the
she could
kids.
go
She
to
could
the
go to the
gym.
gym. Part of the going to the gym, she went with a girlfriend.
Nice.
But it was like she became really resentful
yes.
to him.
Yes.
And he's going, but I never told you not to go to the
No,
gym. I
no,
never
the
asked you not to
responsibility
go
was
to the gym.
hers.
So it was her responsibility.
No, it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
A very good reminder.
So it is because that's where it will first go.
Of course.
The next place it will go
Family.
is family. Where you will drop the water the most
Yeah.
is with the people you love the most. So you've just, example of that is like, maybe you've just started a new job and you've started a new job knowing that maybe for the first month or so you've got to just throw everything into that. That's fine. That's a short-term thing.
Sure, that's right.
And you can say to the family,
Or it should be a short term.
it should be. You can say to the family, hey, look, I'm not going to be, this is a priority. You might be working on a major project that's finishing in 6 weeks. You go, okay, I'm just not going to have time. Okay, short-term thing. The danger is when the short-term thing becomes
ongoing.
the long-term thing.
Yeah.
And you look around and this has been going on for 3 years and you're really surprised why you're going through a divorce.
Yeah. Set yourself up how you intend to end,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
so be very clear on what those boundaries are.
Yeah.
That's a really good one, right?
Another woman who had done this workshop, she just had a baby and returned to work, and she said she used to go to the gym all the time and was really fit. And she said, I just know the baby's a priority at the moment, so I'll get back to going to the gym, in about 5 years. And I went, what?
What? Yes.
No, don't.
Don't put your health and well-being off for 5 years.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll be a better parent if you
Exactly.
Prioritise it.
Exactly. And it's the same with, again, if you're busy, like you spoke about the friends, prioritise your friends.
Yeah.
You might be going, I'm actually not spending enough time with them.
Yeah, true.
So this is I said, the identification is not only where you're spending too much time, but where you're not spending enough time
for what you need. What about the typical thing, Raul, and again, I'm sure this is a female thing, where you drop one thing or you stop carrying water in one area, but you immediately replace it with something else? I mean, is that – and it might be okay if it's something that needs to be replaced, but what if you're just constantly – you're just filling it with something else that you've now got another responsibility for, so it's not addressing the things that you aren't prioritising.
Yeah, and it's a good point, because when you said before, what about if it's okay? Like, I've had some people look at this and go, actually, I'm pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like
happy with it.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And but then I'd go, okay, so if you're happy with that, where's the spot in your role for networking? Or where's the spot in your – and sometimes I look at it and I go, where's you in there?
Yeah.
Like, they haven't got time for you.
Oh, very good. So you do a quick analysis of this and say, well, in your world everything's great and you're carrying water for everybody, but it's all being managed. But hang on, there's a glaring gap here.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Yeah.
What a good thing to do.
I did this once it was a very large group, and it was a married couple who did it together. And I was walking around and I asked her how she felt, and she goes, no, I'm actually pretty comfortable. And her wife was sitting next to her, and I went, okay, so Nikki's pretty comfortable. How are you? And she went, I'm not comfortable. I feel like I'm carrying too much water. So I actually did share with them the Michelle Obama story then. But at least that could then be the start of the conversation.
Absolutely.
To say, I feel like I'm carrying too much water.
Because that was going to come out eventually.
It was going to come out eventually.
Not come out as well as it could have. So well done.
So I've known people that have done this. So you could do this with your team.
Yeah.
And then you got using common language. I have known people that have done this with their family.
Yes.
And they've literally taken their family through it. And I remember I received an email from one person, and their kids were like, they were pretty young. Like they were like, I don't know, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And she said her kid just yelled out, Mum, can you get me some juice? I'm really thirsty. And then he went, I know that's carrying my water for me, but I'm really thirsty. So
she trained up the family well. She trained up the family.
And so I would say, if you want to have this, if you want to look at this, let's just say in your personal life, have the explicit conversation with the team, or it's the team, your family, which is the team, right? Yeah, so have it. So you're all because they might feel like you're not carrying enough water somewhere.
That's right.
Or the other option is don't have the explicit conversation. Just let things go. And I've had other people do this.
And see what happens.
And you know what she said? I just let that go.
And somebody else picked it up.
And they picked it up.
Of course they did.
And they actually enjoyed picking it. Like, she had teenage kids, and I think it was cooking on a Friday night or something. She goes, I hate coming home cooking on a Friday night. But just let it go. And they picked it up. And they love doing it.
There you are.
So
there you are.
I think there's a whole thing around delegation.
Yes, of course, prioritisation and delegation.
Yes.
So the water we carry. So if you had to sum up what the concept is, it is recognising where you have responsibilities.
Yep.
Identifying where you might be overweight in responsibilities and or underweight or gaps in responsibilities.
Yep.
And those responsibilities might be things like self-care or things that you really enjoy doing leisure-wise, but you actually are not making time for them.
Yeah.
Because you're too overweight in other areas.
Yep.
Identifying which areas, figuring out what it is that you want to replace, stop, start, continue.
Yep.
And then sharing that information with those that are important. And away you go.
Yeah, God, that's a great
summary. Is that a good summary?
That's a really good summary. But yeah, and again, we spoke a lot in previous podcasts about you got to be deliberate about things.
Yeah.
Very deliberate of how you give it back if you realise you've taken on too much. And then if you are a person that constantly takes on other people's stuff, be very deliberate on how to not take that.
How to say no.
How to say no.
There's that great saying, if you want something done, ask the busiest person you know. Yeah, because there's somebody who takes on things, but that isn't a good thing.
No, it's not good for that person.
Right. The water you carry, what about the wine you drink?
Yeah. There's always a segue.
Well, Duck Creek Estate, fabulous
We've
friends.
said it before, is that Jesus' best miracle of turning water into wine.
Absolutely. We love you, Jesus. Jesus could be Liam Anderson because he's certainly doing that.
Yeah.
Doing some great stuff. There's some new offers, keepers. So if you are a Keeping It Real fan or keeper, as we have called you, you will have noticed that if you go into the Wild Duck Creek Estate website, up the top right-hand corner is a section called Keeping It Real. Click on that and write in the code word.
Keepers.
How do you spell it?
Lowercase. Well, you don't spell it lowercase. You spell it Keepers.
Thank you. Type that in.
Type it in, and you will get access.
Have a look at what's there for you.
To some discount wine. And
Pretty
again,
cool.
they don't discount.
No, it's a premium
It's a
brand.
discount for us. And we've said it before. It's a win-win-win. If you buy the wine, drink it, they supporting them who are supporting us. So it's
and you're
happy
drinking
days.
some of Australia's best wine, grown locally in Victoria, which is fabulous and made.
Yeah, and good value for money wine.
Correct.
Really good value for
Well,
money.
the water you carry, what a great concept. I love the idea of grabbing a piece of paper and starting with your circles. I think that's a really great concept. I can visualise mine now and it's overflowing, so I need to pull back on a few things and also make some time for some other things that I said I would do that I haven't. So good reminder,
definitely,
Raoul.
definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, keepers, that's been another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul as usual. And I think this is, we often say share it, but this could be a really valuable one to share.
With others.
Because I'm sure you know people that are carrying way too much water. And so if you found this of value, share it with others, give us a rating, and
5
we
stars.
will see you next week.
Bye.
You've been listening to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to tell others about it and give a 5-star review. They may seem confident, but they really are sensitive 5-star needy souls. Yeah, right. Keeping It Real, created by Jack Phillips and Gabriel Dolan. Produced by Keehlan Ferrari-Brown. And this really real voiceover, spoken by Richard Phillips.